Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Glue Guys podcast, episode 33, the Kareem episode. Chad, tell the people how you're doing today.
Doing good, man. Living large. We can also call it the Tyler Dibbling episode. I believe he's number
Shit.
33 for Southampton. So, most wanted English dribbler in the world. Apparently, I've seen stuff that said Southampton won 100 million for him. So, needless to say, he will not be featuring in today's episode. That's just a little tease, though.
I mean, I kind of don't like it though when people get upset with those price tags. They're like, "Oh my God, anyone's 100 million now." It's like, well, he's literally not because no one has paid 100 million. So, like, they can say whatever they want. Like Arsenal can say, "Yeah, you can have William Saliba for 300 million." Doesn't make him a 300 million pound player. Like, it's just
Mm.
something that they say is be like, "Hey, he's not for sale."
Yeah, we know the only 300 million pound player in sports is Jalen Brown, according to his contract. So,
Nah, Juan Soto, Otani.
yeah, that's true. The
Well, they're
baseball, I
like a
think
different.
is
They're a different like industry basically.
yeah, but baseball had this weird run where it was like they weren't giving out like super OD contracts, and then like 5 years ago, I mean, I obviously don't follow it on a day to day, but there had to be someone who like
It was
you
Bryce
know
Harper. I think he was like.
signed like a 13-year
I
deal
think
or
it was like
something like that.
13 years, 330 or something like that, and then it kind of broke everything. And then Trout signed, and then Machado signed, and then that all culminated with the Otani 700 million
Yeah, deferred.
with six. I say with
Uh,
680 deferred, which was okay, cool. But
that's talking baseball for this episode.
yep, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So Chad, before we started recording, said he had a little question to sort of, in the teaching world we call it a warm up. So to sort of warm up, whet everyone's appetite. What was sort of the question you wanted to get us going with today?
Yeah, so let me set the scene first because we were kind of talking about it before that we started recording, and then I brought up how we should save it. You talked about how you hate Shaq talking about how he was as an ex-player, right? And I think this has become a little bit of a an epidemic with the retired athletes because I think so many more of them are in the media now. So many
Mm-hmm.
more of them, we get to hear their takes, whether it's Rashad McCants saying that Roy Williams held him back as a freshman when he wasn't even the coach of his team, or like any of the crazy stuff Shaq has said about it'd be 40 and 20 on everybody, da da da, all this good stuff. Serbian chicken, or he called Jokic Slovenian chicken,
I
which
think
is
he's
so funny.
Serbian.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny because if you really listen closely to the Jokic TNT interviews, I don't think he really cares for Shaq too much. Like I just don't. I don't think he likes Shaq for some reason. But the question I have for you, and this is like basically the definition of your wheelhouse. Like if this is anyone's wheelhouse, it's yours. How much should retired professional athlete podcasts make us second guess history?
Man, that's a
Because
fantastic question. All right, keep going with your context.
because the explanation behind it is, exactly like what we talked about. The ex players don't remember their career really. Jesus, sorry, we're both watching the end of this Real Madrid Celta game, kind of going on in the peripheral. But like we talked about, the ex NBA players when they do the podcast, they talk about their career like they were the best thing ever. Like we didn't all watch their careers, like we didn't all know exactly what was
Like
going on.
basketball reference doesn't exist.
I mean, yeah, basketball reference, but even that, I mean, could technically tell a lie. But like, even just the actual context of, all right, we watched this guy not really be a meaningful performer on any playoff team, and then T Mac calls himself one of the greatest players of all time and says LeBron couldn't beat him 1-on-1. Like, stuff like that, that's just not true. So for you as a history guy, how much of, and look, I don't know to the same level that you do of how well sourced some of this history stuff is. So I'm asking you, does it make you second guess history a little bit?
Well, one of the things that I learned big time when I was in college was about
Yeah.
how history does change, which to the everyday person doesn't make any sense because like, how does history change? It already happened. It's like, yes, but the way we view it makes it a lot different. So, like a really good example of it would be like the Crusades. Actually, no, let's go something more recent that people may have heard of. It's like, oh, well, the Korean War. If the Vietnam War
Yeah.
would have never happened, everyone would view the Korean War as like, hey, everything went according to plan. We kept that parallel. There's still North and South Korea. Everything was good. But then it set the stage for like failure in Vietnam. So bringing it back to
Mm.
sports, it's kind of like, well, you can kind of craft whatever narrative you want around it based on the history of it just by always having sort of an excuse or a backup of for why something happened. You know, oh, T Mac always didn't have the teammate. Okay, I think Yao was a teammate for sure, and especially at that
Yeah.
time, the
He's a
quality
Hall
of
of
the
Famer.
yeah, the quality of the league, especially if you had two legit all stars, I think that you should be doing then first round exit every year. Oh well, this guy was a little bit older. Okay, cool. But every time I get on Twitter, it's people shitting on LeBron, Curry, and KD, even though they're all on the bad side
Late
of
30s.
35. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this guy actually did get it done individually. It's just his teammates didn't come through for him. It's like maybe, okay, but
That's the
all I know is
Kawhi.
every
We
single
call
time
that
I
the Kawhi argument.
yeah, every single time I see LeBron getting crapped on, it's like, okay, yeah, but he was 27, 7 and 7 at 40 years old and Austin Reeves I think he missed every single shot in game 5, but I'm not 100% sure. So I don't think it changes history just because I think it's kind of just more to make themselves feel better. Because I don't think anyone is now like watching Gilbert on a podcast and be like, oh, shoot, actually, Gil um, was something other than what I thought he was based on that story he just told. Although, I mean, there are people that are dumb enough to think that, but I mean, if you're already that dumb
Yeah.
anyway, then I don't really care if
I
you're
mean, it's the people. It's the people who are arguing that LeBron had a grade 2 knee sprain when it comes out like minutes after. No,
I
but
mean, next
like
thing you're going to tell me is he didn't break his hand in 18. I mean, I don't really know what you want, what you want out of me.
I saw a clip of him. It's so funny because right after that came out, I saw a whole
Dapping up
bunch of clips.
Bryce.
Bryce and Bronny.
I
Yeah.
saw that.
And I was like, God, if your hand was really broken, would you do that?
I got one better. I saw someone in the replies to that screenshot it, and it was like, does his hand not look swollen? Like, screenshotted it and zoomed in. It was like, I mean, does his hand not look swollen?
God. But like this is the crazy thing is these are kind of the debates that we're having about stuff that's happening in an era where you've never had more access to information ever.
Everything's
So-
recorded. Every clip is
Yeah.
out there somewhere. The stats are all
So-
out there. Everyone, you can look it up in 2 seconds. But I mean, even
Yeah, but-
a good example is like, if you talk about this Clippers Nuggets series, or even this Game 7, years and years down the line, you'd be like, oh yeah, well the Nuggets beat the Clippers. It wasn't that bad though. Like they only beat
Yes.
them by 19.
Yeah.
Like 19 isn't horrible. It's like no, they were down like 35 in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Like Kawhi had his whole tracksuit on in the third quarter, like the entire thing. The warm-up
Yeah.
shirt, the jacket, the sweats. I'm surprised he
Yeah.
didn't have like slides on. But yeah, I mean, memory like being different because it's like, oh, we almost came back. Oh, this almost happened. Oh, it was actually a closer series. Even like 7-game series in general. It's like, well, it was a great series. It was like, no, it was 6 blowouts. And then game
Yeah.
7 happened and it was close. That doesn't make it a great series. Just always, that's why I always implore people to, sort of look at, because the reason why I thought of it was the Shaq thing is he always brings up, oh, Steve Nash stole two MVPs from me. And then you go back and look at those seasons from Shaq and it's like, okay, you're like 22 and 11. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
But that's like
Yeah.
Al Jefferson numbers, not like for sure 100% MVP numbers. So it's
Yeah.
like, did he steal 2 MVPs from you? Like, I would have to look at look back at the voting, but it's like he probably stole them from Peja or whoever was going off that year. Someone that was actually averaging 28 points and stuff like probably like a Kobe or something like that.
Yeah.
Not a dude that's averaging 22 and 11 as the second best player on his Heat team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll tell you, I think Nash won him in 05 and then 06. So the first 2 years Shaq got to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Kobe had a credible case for that 06 one at least. So like Shaq to me at best was like the third best candidate that year. The first year, I think he maybe had more of and granted, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. It's not like I remember specifically.
Yeah, he was
how I
23 and
feeling.
10, Shaq was.
in that first Miami year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like exactly like you said, definitely all NBA, like really good numbers, but not like an injustice. But then also, then again, maybe it goes to the, are you just looking at the basketball reference, or are you remembering the actual impact? So it's like kind of the exact same argument, but we just had, but almost counter.
Well,
So
the second MVP that Nash won, he didn't even Shaq didn't even finish top 10 in MVP voting, and Elton Brand actually got a first place vote in it.
Yeah, that was the highlight of the Clippers before Kawhi got there and never did anything for
I was
them.
about to say, and then what happened? I think the highlight
Yeah,
of the Clippers franchise so far is like that.
it was signing him.
Nah, I think it's that Chris Paul. I think it for until they actually get to the third round. I think it'll be that Chris Paul shot against the Spurs in round 1 in 15. Just because
Where
that
Blake
was the
Griffin
one time.
almost breaks his neck right after.
Yeah, Manu undercuts him, and it's like because that was like the first time. Because me and you were were like big into the NBA and college and the NBA, so it makes you like more hyped for these guys coming into the league. And
Sure.
so we're kind of like, yo, man, they got Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, and DeAndre is pretty good,
Oh yeah.
and they got good role guys like Matt Barnes and Caron Butler, and you're kind of just waiting for this team to actually take that next step up. And everyone's doing these pieces on, oh, LA is now Clippers town, da 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 da.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
get bounced in the first round every year. That was the first time where it's like, oh, okay, they might actually be able to do something this year. This might be the year it actually comes together. And then they lost in like 5.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the best run of that team was when they played Memphis in the second round of I think that was the 13 playoffs when Blake Griffin got bullied by Zebo.
Yeah, got choked out by Zebo, I think is what you meant to say.
Why you wasn't there when he's choking me out in Smoke Backyard?
Oh, that was different. Oh, my bad, my bad. Rewind. They won that game 7 in San Antonio and then turned around and blew a 3-1 lead to Houston. I forgot that
Yeah.
was that year.
That's why I don't know how much you can count. I mean, I guess like just in the moment, yeah, that was a great feeling. Although I don't know. I would love to know like from true Clippers fans.
I mean,
The
like
Chris
on May
Paul
on May
shot.
10th, once they win game 4 in round 2, that's probably like
Yeah.
the one time ever for them until they blew a 3-1 lead in the bubble that doesn't count for some reason. But that's the one moment you could really believe, like, man, this team actually might be putting it together, and it actually might, end with something.
It did not. It ended, but it didn't end with something. It definitely ended.
Yeah,
All right.
so-
So I just wanted to do that as our quick thought exercise to get us warmed up.
Always good to get the juices flowing before the main episode. So today, me and Chad, we've been talking a lot about, or not we, but we've been seeing a lot of stuff being talked about, oh, these teams that come up and then they don't know how to stay up. And it's always, 2 years in a row now, it's going to be 3 up and 3 down. And it's somewhat concerning, but for me, it kind of just for me and many other people, it kind of just shows, the gulf between the leagues and maybe a misunderstanding of how to stay up. I'm not going to sit here and say I should be a director of football and I have all the answers to your club's needs. All right. But I would gladly take the job if you have it for me.
There you
But
go.
we're kind of just doing a thought exercise, me and Chad, of, you're just thrown in as a director of football to a blank club with a 200 million euro budget. And they're just like, hey, we need you to build an 11 that's going to stay up in the Premier League. So this is kind of, if you ever seen the movie Major League, this is kind of what you're doing with them. It's like, you got to find the pitcher from Mexico that that blew out his arm 3 years ago. You got to find the guy from the LA jail that just got out and hopefully has some stuff. You got to find the vet that has that one more good season in him, that kind of a thing. So we're kind of building these teams with the understanding of. So let me go through the rules real quick.
Yeah.
Like I said, 200 million euro budget, only up to 2 free agent signings with their max market value of 20 million per. So we don't want, it's like, oh, well, I'm not saying this person is, but it's like, oh, Kylian Mbappe's contract is up this summer, so we're going to sign him as a free agent. It's like, no, you're not, but okay. So, and then only 2 players over the age of 32 did that kind of as like again, similar idea. It's like, oh, Luka Modric, KDB, Ederson's contract is
Yeah.
up. Whoever else is, Courtois' contract's up.
Yeah.
And,
Sergio Ramos.
yeah, we're gonna do all of these guys that are all really, really good players, but they just so
We
happen
call
to be
that the Como project.
exactly. We don't want to be Como, even though they did stay up. All right,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say credit to him.
and then also max 2 players of under 20 years old, because those player values can be a little bit wonky, and sometimes you can get players for too good a value. For sometimes they're like really decent young players that are listed as like 10 million pound or 10 million euro value, but in realistic terms, they would have to be sold for upwards of 30, 40 million, maybe sometimes even 50 to actually get your hands on them. So, I mean, hold on, let me do a quick representation of this. All right, my boy. Okay, here actually this is a perfect example of it. My boy, the guy that's going to be the best player at my club here in 3-4 years. All right, Max Dowman. All right, he doesn't even have a market value right now. So in theory, if we weren't playing with any rules, we could just say, "Oh, Max Dowman on a free." Arsenal would not let that happen. You would have to give them at least 50, at the very least 50, 60 million euros in order to get your hands on him. And I would say at the low end. All right, sneakily has 13 goals and 5 assists in U18 in 14 games, but that's neither here nor there.
You were gonna find a way to get that in there.
I'm just saying. But again, just sort of representing that idea of like, we're going to use transfer market or transfer market. I don't even really know how you pronounce it. I'm going to say transfer market because it sounds cooler.
That's how I say. So
As sort of
I'm
our
with that.
base that gives us the values of these players, and we're just going to start building from there. We're going to each kind of build a team and see whose team would end up being, better in your guys' opinion. Obviously, my team's going to be better, but I'll let Chad. Should we bring back a Huddle FC or an In the Huddle tradition and do live Rochambeau?
Absolutely for the first pick.
All right, 1 out of 1.
Yeah, just one.
All right.
Rock. Hold on. Start over.
All right.
I gotta get my strategy.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Hold on.
I got this one for sure.
All right.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
I thought you thought I was gonna throw scissors again, so you
Yeah,
were
but
gonna throw
I knew that you knew that I knew that you knew that I was going to throw scissors. So,
Oh,
all right. So, are we doing this like a
went up
true
on the
draft,
mental.
or are we doing it position by position?
I'm kind of doing it position by position. I think would be the easiest way because I don't want
Fair.
us to just like.
I say I don't want to have
want
my
us to
big
be able-
board and apply
Yeah.
a value to everybody and all that
Yeah, I was
stuff.
gonna say because I definitely didn't do it that way, and doing it on the fly, I would end up messing up pretty bad. So I say we just start with the keeper and then work our way up. Ethan and I both did the 4-3-3 as the formation, with kind of one definite defensive midfielder, and then kind of like with the other two spots, it was like one guy who definitely probably has some defensive traits, and then one guy who provides a little bit of creativity. But I mean, overall, we're looking at a team that's going to be competing in the bottom, half of the Premier League. So like we had to. It's not like we could just go out and be like, all right, kind of like to what you said about young players.
Mhm.
All right, who's the best guy in Barca's academy right now? Who's under 10 million? All right, all right, let's go get Hector Fort, who I do actually like as a prospect, but it would be like, oh yeah, let's go get Hector Fort. He could be an attacking fullback for us. It's like, well, are you really going to have that? Playing for the 19th place team in the Prem? Probably not. So
Correct. That's
that
definitely
definitely
something
played a
that
factor
I
into it.
thought of when there were a couple of players where I looked and I was like, oh, I could do that dude. And I was like, he's kind of like a flying winger that doesn't play any defense. And it's like, I don't really know if my team can afford to do that. So,
Yeah, no one's saying you got to sign 3 Dwight McNeils to play in your front 3, but just like you got
but
to
they
have
stayed up.
defensive.
So, I mean, maybe you do. Jack Harrison and Dwight McNeil.
I told you they would. I stood tall.
I can't wait for that end of the season, looking back at our predictions from the preseason, but,
Well, the part that's hard about that is there's no way in hell I'm going to sit there and watch 3.5 hours of you and I talking to then go back and figure out what we said wrong. Because
I think Ryder's just going to do it for us and give us the cliff notes.
Fair enough. Shout out. Get started on that right now, Johnny. All right. Speaking of getting started, let's start with the keeper. Who do you have? Who do you have as your keeper?
So looking for a goalkeeper, and sort of my general rule is I sort of looked in that 10 to 20 million pound or euro sort of wheel. But this first guy, I mean, I feel like he kind of has to be in this team. I feel like he walks into this team just because of what
Oh
exactly it
shit.
is. All right.
Okay.
Because he's never done it, I think this is going to be, with my club, he's going to be able to do it finally. All right. He's going to
Mm.
be able to survive a relegation scare finally. All right. And that's going to be my boy Aaron Ramsdale.
Ramsdale.
My boy Aaron Ramsdale's finally going to do it for us. He really is. I'm excited for him. You know, so Aaron Ramsdale, obviously playing at Southampton, they're god awful this year. Um, he wasn't even particularly great, but I've seen him have really, really great moments if he has a decent defense in front of him. I mean, his defenses that played in front of him were just really, really bad at the beginning of the year. Russell Martin sort of trying to play a really good brand of football, trying to play out of the back. And I saw them do it against Arsenal. And the first like 5, 10 minutes, I was like, these guys aren't going to do this the whole game, are they? And then they tried to. And it was just, it was a really sad thing to watch Aaron Ramsdale concede so many goals and see him in the highlights and stuff. Aaron Ramsdale, I think, is going to be the linchpin of my team in the back. Really excited about to have him at the club. Welcome, Aaron.
Yeah, I think I like what you were saying about the experience. And that's actually something. And if we want to kind of go through the traits that we were looking for, depending on the position, that's definitely fine as well. But I think probably one thing both of us wanted to look at is people who have experience either in the top flight, or just experience kind of being in a situation similar to what they're going to be in. Is that something you were kind of looking at as well, or?
100%. And also, I like his launch percentage on FB Ref, which is the basically the amount of times he kicks the living
Yep.
shit out of the ball. And
Yeah.
he's in the
He's
86th percentile. Just to give you kind of a representation of it, give me a guess as who do you think has the lowest launch percentage, which means the lowest, just basically long kicks in the world. And they do play in the Premier League.
I would say Verbruggen.
And my hint to you would be that they always play their style no matter what.
They always play their style no matter what. I mean, literally, that could be 20. Oh, Vicario.
Vicario, yep, 9.8%.
Yeah.
Even though he actually might be one of the three worst goalkeepers with his feet in the entire league, so that's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give a shout out to my guy.
Julian Laurent.
No, no, that is my guy, but my guy Euro expert, who was like is good with the analysis, but I just think got this one straight up wrong. He was always pushing for Vicario as a bet needs to be the number one for Italy over Donnarumma, and like just hated Donnarumma, and obviously this is the worst time for that. But I never understood the Vicario. That's a completely separate topic, but I never understood the Vicario. I like the Ramsdale shout though. I'm gonna go. I kind of look for a lot of the same traits you did, right? Good shot stopper, guy who's not gonna be super active in possession as far as like passes, all that, even defensive actions. I didn't really think is like super important because I'm not gonna be sitting there playing a high line, as a team that's in 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted a shot stopper really, and that got me to Finn Dauman. 27-year-old keeper from Augsburg. As you can see, you'll probably see. I'll be interested to
The
see
bias
this actually.
between the two.
Well, I was going to say, I guarantee you, my team is probably going to have a little bit more European flavor to it than yours. You're probably going to have more of the Brexit type team, I would assume.
I think you'll be impressed with me later, a little bit later down the line, but yes, definitely looking for that.
But yeah, Dauman is one of those guys. I didn't even know about him really until we started doing this exercise. Watch Augsburg from time to time, sure, but guy who's 99th percentile in post shot XG, 99th percentile in goals against and save percentage. Like just a legitimate, really, really good shot stopper. Doesn't really use his feet at all. Doesn't complete a lot of passes. The one thing that would worry me about him is he doesn't come for crosses a lot either, which I think is probably something you would have to have as a relegation fighting keeper,
Right.
Because you're just going to face a lot of possession, so therefore teams are going to cross it eventually. But yeah, Finn Dauman, really good cornerstone. Welcome to the club, lad.
Yeah, and Aaron Ramsdale was listed at 16 million. So if you're kind of doing the
Okay.
math at home, I still got still got 184 to work with over here at Ethan FC.
I'm keeping. I got the tab right here with the running tallies of both our teams. Dauman, by the way, 6 million euros. So I got good value with my first pick.
Oh man, it seems like you're plotting for some big moves further up the pitch.
Hey man, you never know. Let's go. Speaking of further up the pitch, let's go to that back line. Starting with your right back. Where we at?
Right back. So I have sort of two options. One of them is actually half the price of the other one. And so I guess since we're only taking one, I can kind of tell you the two players that I'm choosing between. I'm looking at Davide Calabria from Bologna, actually, and he's just like a really well-rounded player. High passes attempted, high passes completed, a lot of them progressive. He actually 96th percentile for progressive passes for fullbacks. So sort of what is it called? Like a homeless man's Trent in that kind of way. 92nd percentile shot creating actions. So kind of like you were saying, maybe someone that would be more suited to someone a little bit higher up in the league. So that's why I'm kind of hesitant on him, even though he's half of the price of someone like a Jordan Teze, who also provides a lot of more of that attacking flair, like more than, your average right back, but also 94th percentile in tackles, 99th percentile in blocks. So he also is a big take-on guy. He takes on a lot of players and receives a lot of progressive passes. And so I guess I'm going to just kind of ride with him just because he provides more of that defensive versatility, and his ability to also get forward might be able to have us create a little bit more attack. Sort of like and actually that's his number one comparison here on FB Ref is Ryan Aït-Nouri, kind of a guy that can come back and defend a decent amount, but also will fly up the pitch and create some stuff every once in a while. So give me Jordan Teze for 15 million.
I like that. That's good value too. He was always, even in his PSV days, like he was a guy who I was like kind of interested in. There was a lot of rumors about like Juve trying to swoop in for him like 2 summers ago and last summer, and like Italian clubs really liking him. So if you can get him kind of for that 15 million, I think that's a great deal actually. Yeah. My right back, it's funny. I was with you as far as like you definitely don't want 2 flying wing backs, as your outside guys. I think if you have one that can go forward but is also competent defensively, that'd be like the ideal. And that's where I went with my right back. I just went and got Kenny Tete on a free from Fulham. Okay. I actually think he's like a very serviceable, like good starting Premier League right back. Not anything too crazy, but is a guy who can both defend in one-on-ones and is also actually decent in the air. So we talked about how you're going to need a good aerial presence if you're defending a lot of crosses. I think Kenny Tete can bring that, and he can also, progress a little bit, kind of up that right side.
Right. I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Yep. Been some good picks so far for 4 in, but I like the teams.
Yeah, so this next guy at my left back, this is a guy that actually I've been watching / keeping an eye on for years and years and years now, actually. This is like one of my original FIFA guys I was a fan of because of FIFA. This is a guy that you're probably going to be a little bit more familiar with than I'm going to be familiar with as far as his actual playing career. But I was looking at his profile, and I like the ability that he's able to receive progressive passes while also committing a lot of tackles and interceptions. A little bit undersized, all right, but I think, you're not going to have all 6-footers in the back like, some of these teams a little bit further up the table. That's sort of weirdly like the standard now for bigger clubs is to have like a big-ass back line, but we're going to be able to get away with it. My team's going to find a way to play around it. And for 18 million, actually, a little bit overpriced in my opinion, but we're still excited to have him. Jose Gaya from Valencia, actually.
Okay. How old is he?
Exactly. I thought he must have been like 1 million, but he's actually 29.
Well, because he was always teetering as like, all right, he's
almost Spain's left back.
Yeah, he was like, he's Spain's left back. Okay, you're not hearing from him for 6 months.
Yep.
And then like for whatever reason, Cucurella, who I actually saw people saying best left back in the league, shouts for, it like just for whatever reason kind of took that spot, and then Grimaldo kind of became a better player as
Hmm.
like the backup. So like now there's just no room for Gaia. But yeah, he was a guy who, I mean, we talk about experience. Like he definitely brings a lot of experience. I mean, we just talked about it. I feel like he's been around for 20 years. So
Yeah, it was between him and the other guy that I find it kind of found as far as value versus individual player quality was Luke Shaw, but it's like I
yeah,
don't really want to. I'm kind of done with him as far as being a consistent player. Um,
yeah, yeah,
Also, another
exactly.
reason
That's
why I didn't look the way of Reece James, who actually had a pretty decent valuation on him as far as his
oh yeah,
quality, but I'm just never going to believe that he's going to be fit enough to be my everyday fullback in my relegation scrap.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I completely agree. Completely agree. Moving on, I'll go ahead and do my left back real quick. I'm going Brexit on you. Sticking in the Prem. I've gone with two Prem guys to start off. Or actually this guy's not even in the Prem technically, coming from the championship. And that is Callum Doyle. 21-year-old left back. He's going to be playing as my left back. He's kind of split time for Norwich as both a left back and a left center back for them. That's kind of what I like as far as, I talked about having one really super defensive
Hmm.
fullback, almost turning it into that back three when we're quote unquote in possession, for those
For
two
those
times a
15
game.
minutes of your game, yeah,
Yeah. No, a season.
yeah.
Shout out to Ethan Dale for that, by the way. Remember when he wanted to have a Bethel formation when we were in possession?
Literally,
Uh,
I think he was in a text when he's like, "Hey, so in possession, I want to play." I was like, "Let me stop you right there. I'm not going to read the rest of this."
Bethel, for all the success we've had, there was never a in possession for Bethel.
No, Callum Doyle. I remember
He-
him coming through at City, not like coming through and really breaking through, but just being like a
yeah.
City player, kind of that
No,
again one of
I
those
mean, yeah.
next guys.
He's still owned by them, still owned by City. He's on loan at Norwich, but that's another thing. Like, is he going to be the most competent passer or progressive player? Probably not. But you obviously know from his time in the City Academy, he's going to be able to complete passes. He's not going to completely shit all over himself when the ball comes to him. And he has a lot of really good defensive qualities, as well as bringing the physical presence. Like, I think the physicality in the championship is like really good. We've seen a lot of players actually kind of make that jump as like get some experience in the championship with the physical demands, get to the Premier League, and you don't look out of place from like a physicality standpoint. And I think for a relegation type team, that's like half of the battle right there.
Right.
So Callum Doyle, welcome to the club.
Callum Doyle, yep. Also a good physical profile on him. About 6'1", a little bit skinny, but that's probably more of his age more than anything else. 21 years old isn't like a baby, but it's still pretty young. You're not going to be fully developed at that age. So I like that. I like that pickup. And also I like, bringing in people from other leagues to to sort of diversify our portfolio a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Exactly.
so this
Gotta
next
have it
guy
diversified.
that I have at center back,
Yeah.
I was gonna pick I was gonna pick between these two, but I think I'm just gonna leave both of them actually. Now that I'm looking at my budget,
Ooh.
um, I'm going to go with a guy that's listed as 15 million, and this guy kind of falls into the camp of what we talked about before about a guy that sort of looks like maybe he should be outside of our range, but I mean, judging by who he plays for right now, I think it's well within our rights to say that he could go to a smaller Premier League side, and that is for
Yeah.
15 million, Milan Skriniar.
Oh yeah, I thought about him honestly. I thought about him. The only thing that worried me is would he have that Koulibaly type of welcome to the Premier League, where it's like, hey, you've been considered a badass every other league you've been in, but then you actually play against some physical number nines and you're overwhelmed and you're old. But
Fair,
I
but the
mean,
only reason that would like, I think it'd be a little bit different is one, we're going to be much more compact than any of those
yeah,
Chelsea sides. And two, we don't
100%.
need him to be a Champions League level center back. We need him to be a bottom
17th
half level
place.
center back, just heads the shit out of the ball, maybe completes a couple passes, and
Yeah,
is big on set pieces, and he's big as shit already. So it's not going to be one of those things where it's like, oh well, um, like a I can't think of his name. I always lose his name. Martinez, Lissandro thing where it's like, hey, we need you to win these set pieces against fucking Chris Wood, and you're 5'9". I don't know if I
Yeah,
can do
no.
that, coach.
Yeah, that is a good point. He's definitely not going to be overwhelmed physically by anybody.
Yes.
That is 100% true.
So that's center back number one for me is Milan Skriniar. Who's your CB one?
Okay. Why don't you just go ahead actually and just do your center back pairing?
All right, so this is a guy that actually I ended up. I mean, I'd heard his name. I've never really watched him play before. And his age profile, along with the amount that he's played and his actual just profile, like really really intrigued me, and it actually made me sort of perk up a little bit. Just maybe not for Arsenal, but just like I kind of want to see him get a good move. Since I've done some studying on him, and that is Pavlovic from Milan, the center back, Serbian, 23 years old. He's about to turn 24. And I was really, really impressed by his profile, his progressive carry rate at 99%. And again, I'm not going to say that we're going to be the most progressive and teams are going to sit off of us, but in those times where he can burst forward and play a progressive pass, because he's also has pretty good progressive passing numbers, he's able to do that. And also, huge tackle numbers. Pretty decent in the air as well, with a 2.3 aerials, 1 per game. Tackles 2.6 a game, which is in the 97th percentile. So he kind of brings a little bit of, he's going to be more of the technical of the two center backs, left-footed as well, so he's going to fit in well right next to Skriniar. So I think those two, Pavlovic is 6'4", Skriniar is not much smaller than that. So I got two big-ass guys, one more of a ball winner, win the ball in the air. The other guy, decent ball winner, but also has that technical ability to walk in between lines, but also play in between lines. So I kind of like our mix that we have right now.
I tell you, dude, there's nothing more. There's nothing that screams Premier League relegation battle than just two Eastern European center backs just literally heading the shit out of every ball for 90 minutes for 7 straight months.
Hey, well, I know they're not all Eastern European, but it kind of gives, what Forest have done this year, and just like, hey, we're going to have some big-ass motherfuckers back there, and you're just not going to be able to, play through them, or play over them, sorry.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. I like it. I like it. All right. Moving on to my center back.
He was 18
pairing.
million,
I'll just
by
go
the
ahead
way.
and do both of them back to back. We've got had to represent the United States a little bit in here. So we're getting Cameron Carter-Vickers out of Celtic. We're getting him for $14 million. It's funny, he's been a guy who's been, somewhat rumored to be like coming to the Prem for like, I don't know, better part of the last handful of years. But I don't know if it's ever really been quite at that level. I think physicality wise, like he has everything that he would need. Actually a little bit smaller than I think you would think. Is only listed at 6 feet, but 200 pounds. So definitely a strong bodied guy.
Jesus.
You're going to be playing, I know, kind of a unit. You're going to be playing a lower.
Playing outside backer.
Yeah. No, well, he's playing center back for me, but yeah.
No, I mean outside backer, like in the NFL. I don't mean outside back. I mean outside backer.
Shit, this dude's getting down in a 3-point stance.
I say he lines up in a 3-point stance on third down. I'll tell you that much.
Oh my god! But yeah, that's fine. Because honestly, like sometimes you just need. Like how many times have we seen? And granted, we know the relegation or the promoted teams haven't had much success recently, as we talked about, but. How many times is it just, I just need that center back in there that just will run through everybody and doesn't give a shit? Like, I mean, hadn't Tarkovsky like made an entire career off of that? So could Cameron Carter-Vickers at 27 years old be a budget Tarkovsky type? I don't know. I think that'd be entirely possible. And then the other center back I'm going with is going to be Morato from Nottingham Forest. We're picking him up for $15 million. I thought he was actually a pretty good prospect coming out of Benfica. A couple years ago. Didn't think he was obviously what, the prospect of an Antonio Silva or anything like that, but I think he has real pace, left-footed, and kind of has a little bit of that, like, it's funny because we talk about, like, we're not going to sit here and have a team that's like 50, 60% possession or anything like that, obviously. Right. But you want someone who's, like, competent, like someone who can actually pass the ball. In those, so that way you can make the most of the chances that you would have per se. And that's what I think Morato brings, that, and then he'll just like tackle the living shit out of people. Like that's just all he does. Tackle, clearance numbers through the roof. Exactly what you kind of need. So I got two budget Tarkovskis for a combined 29 million.
Love that. Not the biggest fan of Cameron Carter Vickers as a guy that's watched a lot of men's national team over the years, but I mean, if you
Yeah.
really just need him to be 17th, I'm sure he can get the job done for you there.
I'm not asking for anything more. I'm not asking him, as US MNT fans are, I'm not asking him to lead me to the World Cup, to a World Cup win, or anything like that.
That's what Pops
So,
told me. But just for shits and giggles, I guess the other two center backs I was looking at was Andreas Christensen, who actually has played
yeah.
just about no minutes this year.
Yeah.
Contract expiring next summer, and he was listed as
Oh, really?
15 million. And it's like he's played in the league before. I just don't like his height is fine. I don't like his like physical profile
Right.
as far as in the air,
Yeah.
how strong he is. And then
Yeah.
also had Mario Hermoso here for 10 million.
I took a look at him versus Morato, kind of for that left-sided center back.
Yeah, and it was kind of
Definitely.
like I like it. I don't really like his height. I know he's a very very good athlete, but especially as he starts to cross over that 30-year-old fresh threshold, I'm not going to want to
Yeah.
really rely on his athleticism for like this sort of ending part of his career when we're trying to stay up and he's trying to decide, am I athletic enough to play in here or not? So
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to have him going through that transition of realizing he's not as good of an athlete while he's also playing in a more athletic league. So that was a
right.
good call. That was a good
So
call.
who are your sort of other two options? I know you said you took a look at Hermoso, but who else was sort of on your radar a little bit?
For the center back, I also shit. I also looked at Mohamed Salisu as that left-sided center back. I actually thought he was actually fine when he was with Southampton the last couple of years. Like, again, nowhere near like, an upwardly mobile team isn't sitting there saying, all right, what do we got to do this summer? Sign Mohamed Salisu. But I thought he was actually good for Southampton, has moved to Monaco, has become really good for them on a team that's second, in France right now. And then another French center back actually that I was looking at was Christopher Wu from Rennes. This dude is like a physical demon, honestly. 23 years old, so like right at the physical probably peak of his career. But I just didn't know if he had enough. Like ultimately, I ended up going with Carter Vickers because I think weirdly Carter Vickers has more. Well, he definitely knows the league because he played in England for a good while, although he never actually broke through in the Prem. But I just would be nervous about Wu kind of adapting to that difference between the Premier League versus Ligue 1 and then being like, hey, we need you to do it on the fly because you're starting 38 times for us.
Right.
Something like that.
God,
So,
United's getting their fucking ass kicked.
who are they playing?
Actually, you know who they're playing against, and you know who's starting at the
Oh.
six for Ethan FC? It's Chris
Uh,
Norgard.
Yes.
Chris
That was
Norgard.
that was literally the alternative for the guy who I have for mine. So I love that.
Yeah, so
I
it's
love
it's
that.
4-1 right now, by the way.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and they
Jeez.
actually, and I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm the most knowledgeable person in the history of football, but I tend to know most people. United started a guy that I literally never heard of before.
Obi Martin, right?
No, I've heard of him because he's an Arsenal Academy legend, but the guy named like Fredrickson or something like that at center back. I don't even know who he is.
Tyler
Sure,
Fredrickson.
sure.
No, I've just listened to Tomlinson blow smoke up him a couple of times this year. So
Yeah, well, he's
I'm
20 and he
slight-
has never gotten any real minutes for the first team. So I mean, but
hey man, that's my Asensio rule. If you're breaking through at 21, then how good can you be?
so Chris Norgard, the reason why I like him is not the greatest passer of all time. I'll freely admit that. Pass completion, passes attempted, progressive passes, all sort of in the gray, sort of that middle area for midfielders. Progressive carries and take-ons, basically non-existent. Things that you would typically look for as a midfielder, all right? But what I do like about him is that defensive monster. All right, tackles, interceptions, blocks, clearances, aerials, all of those things in the green. So all those things that he's going to have to do for us as a relegation threatened side, he's going to be in there doing it. Also, strangely good goal scorer for his position. 5 goals in the league this year. His non-penalty goals actually 86th percentile for all midfielders. All right, not even just, specifically DMs, but for all midfielders. So he sort of is able to do it, in our box, in their box, and that breaks things up in between. And to get all of that for just 12 million, I think is a very, very, very good value for my team.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. I think he's just a good player. Like, I mean, a little bit older now. I think he's 30 or something. He's probably over 30.
I think he just turned 30. No, he's 31. Just turned 31. That's what it is.
Okay, yeah. So, and I mean, look, it's not like we have to be like, all right, the second someone turns 30, they're
done.
Done. Yeah. But yeah, no, I like Norgard. I don't mind that one at all. As I said, he was my alternate to. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with alternate versus alternative right now. But he was my alternate to Florentino Luis. This is a guy who I've talked about to anyone that's ever listened to me for about a good 3 years now. And it's funny. I'm kind of starting to see some, or maybe I'm seeing some strategy where I think you probably went a little bit more expensive on the back line, and then in your midfield, at least, it's starting to look like. And again, we've only done the one, but maybe not as expensive in the midfield. Me, I definitely wanted to spend some money in my midfield, so I got some more expensive midfielders. Luis is listed at 22 million. Guy is just like the definition of a relegation DM, like just insane tackle and interception numbers. Not really interested. I mean, no offense to him, but not really interested in passing the ball a whole ton. But is just a guy who's going to screen in front of the back four. Is mobile. Like, that's another thing. I don't want the DM who just can only get the ball when it's right in front of him. Like, that guy is great, but I want a guy who can actually go sideline to sideline, and that's what Luis brings. Does actually, I underrated him a bit. Does actually have an 87% pass completion percentage, but I think that's just Benfica playing in the Liga NOS. So, I don't know. Nothing super impressive as far as, progressive passes or anything like that. So, not going to bring you much, but is going to do the job that he's brought in for, which is just breaking up shit in front of the back four. And he's 22 million, so I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. There's a guy that I've sort of dabbled in, again, as an Arsenal fan, when we were really looking for that big DM, even like 3-4 years ago, he was a guy that was a really young player then. It was a guy that looked like maybe he could take that next step to a bigger team. Never really got that big move, but
no. But I don't like, I don't want to do a full side note on Florentino Luis, but like, I actually wouldn't mind him, like, for Arsenal, like, even now, like, if you're saying between, like,
well, Tom Partey just signed a extension. But it looks like Jorginho's leaving the summer, so we could do with another DM.
I just feel like you guys are kind of light in midfield right now, and it's to me, I just feel like you guys are a little light. If Lewis Skelly is going to continue to play at left back, which I think only Arteta would know the answer to that one. So.
Yeah, well, I don't really want to get into Arteta because people are going to call me an idiot for still like really, 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 really enjoying what he's been doing even this season with
he's in phase 8 with no trophies, right?
Phase 8 with no trophies except for the trophy that he won, which doesn't count because it was with someone else's players. But these are all slots players. Just know that. So somehow all those things work together at the same time.
Yeah. What's your problem?
My second midfielder.
Yeah.
There's like 2 ways I can go with this. 2 A's. God. Because there's like 2 guys that I want to get in my team. I don't think I can have both of them. So I'm going to go with like a hard worker as my next guy and then kind of bring in my next guy as a
creative, more type.
Yeah. And I'm going to have in my midfield.
Yeah, give me your hard worker.
Another guy that's actually playing right now, he actually just came on. So this guy kind of does a little bit of both, actually. He kind of puts up those interceptions and block numbers, but also is a decent progressive dribbler and progressive passer. Actually has a really good amount of shot creating actions. He's not really thought of in that way, which kind of shows that a lot of this stuff is done pretty sneakily with alongside his work rate. And that would be Matthias Jensen, 16 million from Brentford, having sort of reuniting Norgard and Jensen in that midfield.
Just cherry picking guys off Brentford. Shit.
Yeah, those two. I mean, because I think they have like a really weird squad where it's like, I think it works because they're together and because of their manager. I don't really, and
like
again, I'm not saying
the players individually.
Hey, I don't love, and again, like say, well, if you don't love them, then why are you picking them up? Well, I'm picking them up in a relegation context, not in the I want them to come to like Arsenal or whatever context. Yeah. So huge difference. So I don't really think that these players are going to be world beaters on their own. But I think, putting them in that system, which we're going to have at Ethan FC, we're going to have a really, really good relegation type of system. And that's why I have all the Garnacho stock in the world, because that goal he just scored. So I just really, really want some two hardworking guys. Christian Norgard obviously is just a defender. Matthias Jensen kind of getting into both boxes in the run of play. Norgard's pretty good in the other box on set pieces. So I'm going to ride with those two, and then my last guy I'm going to have to make a decision on.
Well, no decision is a decision, as we both know. So
that's what your pitching career told me.
Yeah, jeez.
Throwing 4 innings of no decision ball.
No, I was getting the win. You can ask Mr. Percy. I was getting the win in a lot of those games. I was going deep into the fifth, no doubt about it.
Well, yeah, we know you're throwing 2 pitches in that bat because it was just fastball down the middle to contact.
Hey, man, I was getting the outs and I wasn't giving up the runs. I don't know what to tell you. What's his name? Greg Maddux made an entire career out of that, so I think I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Second baseball talk from us today, by the way. We're on a heater. My next midfielder that I'm going with to pair with Luis, kind of almost in like a double. It's going to be a 4-3-3, but let's be honest, we know we're going to be having to defend our asses off. So
more like a 4-2-3-1 type of look.
Yeah, exactly. With the 10 really playing as an 8, basically.
And really quickly, Matthias Jensen also has a long throw on him, which is going to help us in the in the relegation scrap category.
I saw a whole video that said the whole reason why Brentford have been successful is because they've scored like 5 goals off long throw-ins.
So are we.
A couple of years.
Throw it into Pavlovic and Skriniar.
That reminds me of when Stephen A. said that the Warriors were going to win the finals because they were a better free throw shooting team. Or because they were a good free throw shooting team. It was like, okay, right answer. However, like the reasoning, you should have just said the Warriors are going to win the title and leave it at that.
Did you see the numbers last night in that Game 7? It was like both teams shot like 65% from the line or something insane like that.
Denver was 13-19 at one point before Christian Brown went to the line and knocked down 2.
Yeah.
To kind of officially put it out of reach when the Clippers were making that weird run, as you kind of talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But my second midfielder, so my basically other number 6 that's going to be playing for me, although he has a little bit of a goal on him possibly, is Johnny Cardoza from Real Betis. Yeah. Now, this is a guy who I've personally watched against us multiple times, and I've actually watched like a bit of him not individually, but just like not even against Madrid, because I actually think Betis are, dare I say, halfway entertaining to watch. And then, of course, they've got, the Ballon d'Or winner. They've got the Ballon d'Or winner on their team, and Antony. So, of course, I was not expecting that. That was great. But yeah, Cardosa, not going to really complicate it. 78th percentile in tackles, 99th in interceptions, 90th in clearances. 79th percentile on successful take-ons. Those are all numbers that I think you really need when you're talking about, a midfielder for a relegation type of club. Love the fact that he's 43rd percentile for passes attempted, so we're not even going to be asking him to do that. Really, we're just going to be asking him to win headers in the box and clear the ball. Kind of be that him along with Florentino Luis as that second back line or that first line of defense. Sorry, before they get to the actual back four.
He also, the thing I like about Cardoso, he's also 98th percentile in just being absolutely horrible in a U.S. shirt. So I like that about his game. When he can't get it done against like Costa Rica, I really like that for him. So
Hey man, I've got two.
yeah, you got too many
polarizing
Americans already, so you're definitely going down.
Well,
Unless you
those
play
are
for
the only
Fulham.
two- I gotta be honest, I forgot, and yeah, that's a good point. But I kind of forgot that Cardoso was American. It's almost kind of too hard to like.
Because we don't have like a naming pattern that's like, oh, that guy
Yeah.
sounds Serbian. Oh, that guy
Yeah,
sounds.
exactly. Like,
And
it's
Cameron
too
Carter
much of the
Vickers
Baltic-
also is like the most English person of all time, and
right.
he just plays
Like,
for us.
I mean, it's like the idea of Florin Balogun playing for the U.S. and then you hear him do one interview, and it's like, does this dude even speak English?
Anthony Robinson.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I like Cardoso though. I think he's actually going to be he's going to be the guy that when we get relegated, he actually increases his market value. We end up selling him for like 40, and that allows us to kind of stay running as a club.
The Liam Delap corollary, you could call it.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to be Ipswich. Competent, but at the end of the day, definitely not staying up. All right, give me your third midfielder. Who's doing the creating for you?
I like to call this the Ross Barkley role. Kind of what he did
Jesus.
for Luton last year, giving them half a chance to stay up, even though this year they're like going down from the championship. So,
Yeah. the double doink.
yeah.
Shout out to
So,
Parky.
gosh, there's two guys.
Yeah.
One of them
Mm.
doesn't have a club right now. Actually, doesn't even have a market value listed on Transfermarkt.
That'd be a good value signing for sure.
The other guy, all right, let me double check. Yeah, his is a contract expiring this summer. So again, I don't know how that's going to count. He definitely has a what's it called? A market value.
Okay.
And God. You know what? I'm going to give him a second chance. This is the Ricky Vaughn signing in Major League. This is the Paul Crew in longest yard. Give me at my number 10, my 8 come 10 position. Give me Paul Pogba.
I knew it. God, I knew.
Give me Paul Pogba. He's looking to rejuvenate his career. He wants to get back in the Spain or in the France team. He'll play for anybody.
Confirmed.
He'll have a little bit more fire in his heart. Give me Paul Drogba.
The only thing
and he's doped up, so I like him for that too.
The only thing that makes that not good is now we can't have like the people who are watching the video decide whose team is better because it's just automatically going to be yours. Like, oh, he's got Pogba. Like, bro, he'd win him the Premier League. Like, forget relegation.
He's going to keep him up by himself even when he plays 15 games.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to start the first 4, then have a hamstring injury that takes him out till Christmas.
And still get a Chelsea move out of it.
One thing that you said that was interesting, though, that I do want to comment on, when you said Pogba said he'll play for anybody, Julien Laurent, a guy who I'm referencing a little bit too much in this episode, he's like me using American players in my team. He said that Pogba wants to play for a Champions League team. And I'm just like...
Which is fine,
wow.
He's just not going to. Like, it's fine. It's a cool thing to say, I guess, but...
I just can't imagine, like, being him and, like, you literally got released from Juve even after they knew that your ban was getting reduced to, like, 15 months. They're like, all right, yeah. Meanwhile, this is while Juve had, like, 2 other players who were suspended for a year that they were fine with keeping them, but were like, Pogba, that's just too much.
Yeah, so, exactly.
That was hilarious. So you're saying that's the rejuvenation, that's the fire that's going to keep him going?
Yeah, it's just kind of like... And someone like a Pogba, too, I think has such self-belief that he's going to be like, kind of what Erickson
Yeah.
did at Brentford, where he's kind of just like, you know what, I'm just going to go here for 6 months,
Yeah.
kill it,
Yeah.
and then I'll get a move out. Might be able to even get back in the France team in time for maybe not the World Cup, but maybe like the Euro, or maybe I have a really good season getting the World Cup team, or maybe I can have a
Yeah.
last hurrah at like the 2028 European Championships and have my career go out on a high note, not petering out because of this doping ban.
Fair enough. Nah, fair enough.
The other
And the funny
person
thing
I
is,
was kind of thinking about, and again, I don't know how realistic. I mean, this one was like somehow even less realistic than the Pogba one. I was like, well, KDB
It's a
is
good
listed as
start.
27 million on transfer mark, so
What do you, real quickly, what do you actually think is gonna like happen with him? If you had to like, I mean, I'm not asking you to say exactly, but like, do you think it's MLS? Do you think it's Saudi, or do you think he actually like tries to stay in like a top European club?
I think it's going to be kind of what I was just talking about, where it's kind of he's going to be like, gosh, actually, I don't know. I think it's more MLS or Saudi, but I think
I couldn't see Saudi. I got to be honest.
I couldn't either. I think it's going to be
I could
MLS
see MLS
because he
for
sort of
sure.
has like that. I mean, I don't even want to say this disparagingly because it's going to be more offensive than it is, but kind of like that clout chaser type of mindset and be like, huh, I just want to look. I just want to live in New York
America.
City. Yeah, I just want to live in
Yeah.
America. I love New York. I think actually the article I read about him this morning when I was kind of doing my research was like, yeah, he has a house in Miami. So I could see him just being like, oh man, I just really love America and I just want to live there. And I heard Playboy Cardi spends a lot of time in New York City, so I want to hang out with him. So I can see that being a thing, but at the same time, like I said, since Paul Pogba is such a beloved figure, I think even within like the footballing world is because of his actual ability. I think he could have like a good year in a club or in a league like MLS, and then a team like
To someone, yeah.
maybe like an underachieving Premier League team right now. If I'm looking at the table, maybe like a probably a team in London because he'll want to be in London. Maybe like a Fulham or something like that, or like, hey man, we'll give you a chance if you want to come play for us. And then he's kind of like, or like, like a team like a Forest, if they made the Champions League, being like, hey,
Yeah, yeah.
we'll give you Champions League football if you come play for
Yeah.
us. And it's like, oh man, I can play Champions League football, but also not have huge expectations on my shoulders. And again,
Yeah.
kind
No,
of
that's a
just
good
playing
point.
his way back into the spotlight, I think is where his career is right about now.
Yeah, it's weird. I actually think the only way back into like a serious team for Pogba is he has to kind of go through France first, like a club in France. I mean, like
Like a Monaco.
I was gonna say Monaco, but like, I mean, I don't really know too much about Monaco, so I'd only be guessing if he would. And like, would he even fit in the team? I don't even know how much of a question that really would even be. As much as like, hey, cool, we're Monaco, we don't have a ton of fans. We're gonna sign Paul Pogba just to bring interest to a team that
Ooh.
can't offer Champions League football.
You know who's
I'm pretty
going
sure
up though? Paris FC. So I think he's going to want to
They
play
are.
for them.
Paris FC is going up. They've got the LVMH founder as like their owner, so they've definitely got the money. If I don't know what the French financial fair play rules are, but if they're just like screw it, then clearly they're non-existent because PSG have spent 200 million every year for the last decade and nothing's happened to them.
Well, they're underdog, and they're still underdogs, which I really like about them.
Yeah, you guys have spent some money, but I don't think anyone's quite spent PSG money over the last half decade or even decade, which is so funny because they're like, yeah, PSG, like they decided to change the way they're building the side. Like,
Yeah, so they spent 180 this summer and then 70 in January.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, it's like what we talk about with, what I always bring up all the time when I shit on Liverpool, which I think is your favorite thing to do, but it's my favorite thing that I do as well. Where it's like, hey, give us credit. We didn't spend 250 million. We only spent 180 for both. We spent 180 in both windows instead.
We didn't sign a
it's
£100
like-
million player. We
Yeah,
we signed
signed-
two £80 million players.
Right. Yeah, honestly, that's exactly what it is. It's like, oh man, they don't have any. The whole thing about like, oh, they don't have any superstars. Like, they don't have any superstars anymore. It's like,
Whose fault
well,
is
let's
that?
see. Kvaratskhelia cost a shit ton of money. João Neves, he didn't cost a shit ton of money, but he cost a lot of money. Barcola was not cheap. I'm pretty sure people know who Ousmane Dembele was. They got like 200 million in strikers sitting on the bench or out on loan at other clubs.
Due was a bigger move. It wasn't like a £3 million move or something like that.
No, yeah. I mean, Due was 50.
But I'm just saying, like if we're talking in the aspect of like 100 million, 80 million, like he wasn't that, but he wasn't like chump change.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It's like the people who try and think that Ahmad, like, oh man, nice little signing out of Atalanta. It's like, no, you spent like 30 million on him.
He also just scored to make it 4-3, so comeback is on.
Shit, good for him. I'm glad you said that before I said anything too negative about him. All right, last midfielder for me. I'm actually gonna go for my creative guy. A little bit younger than who you were looking at, but kind of the same profile as far as like I just want a guy who can really create, a guy who can be creative. Joey Veerman is my pick.
That was a name that came up in my research as well.
I like for some reason I just feel like he's been a bit underrated. Like he's 26 now, so he's obviously not like young. You know exactly what he's going to be. He's going to be a guy who is just outrageous when it comes to any sort of creation numbers. And yes, I know a lot of that is, just the fact that it's Netherlands, but like when you're 99th percentile progressive passes, 99th percentile shot creating action.
I was about to say his freaking FB ref page lights up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, like touches in the attacking penalty area, 87th percentile. Like he is just whatever you can think of as far as like attacking or forward movement, like he can do pretty much all of it. So am I going to sit here and say he's going to be able to run games for a relegation team? Absolutely not. But can he have, maybe a couple games he's making some progressive carries, a couple games he's getting in the opponent's box, a couple games he's getting some shot creating actions. You couple all that. Because I think one of the things, how do you avoid relegation or survive relegation? All right, we have to score goals. We got to find someone who can score goals for us. And it's like, that's great if you have someone who can finish goals. Like, obviously, you're going to want that if you can get it. But it's so much more important to me, at least, that you have someone who's actually creating chances for this guy.
Right.
Creating chances for whoever your number 9 is. And I know for a fact Veerman is going to create chances. I can't promise you it's going to be 10 chances a game, but he's going to create some chances. I mean, shit, 6.56 shot creating actions per 90 right now. That's honestly unreal.
Yep.
So even if you just cut that in half, that's still like 3.5 a game. So I think he could do a number.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good insight because I really enjoy when people are like, oh, they don't have a goal scorer. They don't have a goal scorer. It's like,
yeah,
well, I mean, goal scorers don't just score goal. Like I can't describe it. Like Erling Haaland didn't just score like that first season at City. He didn't just score 60.
Mm-hmm.
He had like 150 chances this year, and he scored 60 of them, which is still amazing. But it's like you don't just like strikers don't just score goals. None of them.
Yeah. No, it was that thing that we did when we were kind of talking about Arsenal. Like people were giving Arsenal shit about needing a number 9, and we did that. Went through like a bunch of major number 9 signings over the past couple years, and like it didn't really affect the team goal totals in hardly any of the seasons.
I think City scored more goals the year before they signed Haaland than the year after.
Yeah, exactly. But because they won the treble in that first year, then all of a sudden
you have to hold your hands up and be like, oh yeah, it was definitely a better whatever this year. So
on a side note, I do. This is just funny. It's coming up, but I think it's bullshit that people were like, "Oh man, this is like the best City team ever. This is the best City team." The year they won the treble, like no one was saying that at all the entire season, and then all of a sudden they won a treble, and then it was just like, all right, so I guess they're just automatically awesome.
Yeah, the Centurion team I think was probably better, but I mean,
yeah.
They also kind of hit like a perfect peak at a perfect time. It's like Juve wasn't good.
The run for those titles.
Bayern wasn't good. Barca wasn't back to being good again. Real Madrid were good, but I mean, they did do well against Madrid. PSG was doing whatever the hell they were doing. Like all the biggest clubs, even Liverpool at that time weren't firing on all cylinders. So it's just
that was the year they finished. I think Liverpool finished like 5th that year.
Yeah, which they can do.
I hope they finish. Yeah. That's where I had them projected this season. I'll hold my hands up.
They can do that.
It takes a brave man to admit that. It can't get any worse, can it?
You
It
can.
can.
Mick McCarthy. All right, let's get on to our front lines. I'm going to try to fly through this a little bit more because honestly, a lot of these guys, it kind of speaks for themselves. And I do have kind of a big signing at the end, hopefully, that I'll have.
Oh
It looks
yeah.
like I'll have money for.
Let me just hold on before we get to the front three.
Yep.
Let me just go ahead and give the totals just because I've been tallying them up. Ethan has spent 110 million,
Mm-hmm.
so you've still got 90 to play with in your front three. And me, I have spent. Man, this is funny. I've spent 120 million also exactly. Or no, well, yeah, I've spent 120, so I've spent a little bit more than you. I've got 80 to play with in my front line. You've got 90. Go ahead, let me know where you're going first. You know what? You can just, if you want, we can honestly just kind of run through the whole front three, each of us.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you said you're going to run through it a little bit quicker. So yeah, we can just give the full front three, and then we'll just kind of review the teams.
Perfect. So my left side, both of my wingers are going to be really hard workers. Both of these guys have really good defensive numbers, but have also put up some pretty decent attacking output as well. First one is a left-sided player by the name of Robin Hack from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Only 10 million market value, but if we look at some of his numbers, aerials won 75th percentile, which again for a winger isn't huge, but if he's going to be defending a lot, it's going to be a big, like a good weapon for us. 89th percentile in clearances and 85th percentile in blocks. So he's able to obviously do his defensive work while also putting up 4 goals and 7 assists this year in the Bundesliga. Now, it's not a ton of true creation, like chances created and passes in the penalty area and things like that. But to me, that actually is more impressive because it kind of shows that he's able to do a little bit more with less, which is what he's going to have for us as well. He's not going to be able to fly up and down that wing and have the ball at his feet in the box 15 times a game. He's not going to be able to really do that. So him being able to create a lot with not a lot of the ball, I think is going to be very, very valuable for my team. And at only 10 million, I think that's going to be, that's going to be more than enough for that type of position.
Heck yeah.
Right wing, all right, I think is going to be a pretty interesting one because it's going to kind of show how we're going to be playing. All right, Robin Hack is going to be kind of more the creator. And then this guy, along with our striker, is going to be the goal scorer. And that's going to be Iñaki Williams.
You know you're going to get 38 games out of him.
That's what I mean. Super reliable, super huge engine. He's able to, again, he's sort of like Robin Hack. Aerials, clearances, blocks are all sort of in those higher green sort of territories. He's also able to find really good spaces and receive 10 progressive passes a game, which is 81st percentile. And he's also similar to Robin Hack in the way he does more with less. 6 goals and 8 assists this year in the league. If you add on, what he's done in the Europa League, that's an extra 5 goals and an assist. So he's got about 20-ish goal involvements in all comps this year, which for a team that's not amazing. I mean, they've been having a good season, but it's not like they're a very, very elite team. For someone that's going to be worth, what was it? I think it was 20 million. I think that's really, really great value. The way he's able to convert his chances and convert his shots. And obviously, I mean, he's a physical monster. He's big, he's fast, he's good in the air. He can do kind of a little bit of everything. He's not a fantastic dribbler, but again, the way we're going to be playing is kind of going to be focusing play down that left with Robin Hack and Jose Gaya kind of getting around each other and doing those little combinations. And then probably the way that we're going to play when I'm, coaching the team, Paul Pogba's going to sort of be, filtering over to that side, those three doing a lot of creation. And then on the back post, we're going to have guys like Iñaki Williams, Matthias Jensen coming in to, finish balls off, as well as our center forward, 22 million from Napoli. All right. Romelu Lukaku coming back on English shores.
Oh my God. The 5th return. Your team is going to be called Second Chance FC.
Second Chance FC. We got Pogba, we got Lukaku, we got, hell, at this point, Skriniar, who never really took that step to being a Ramsdale.
I mean, even like Ramsdale, Gaia.
Norgard, who was like supposed to get a move basically ever since he entered the Premier League and has never really gotten it. So, yeah, we definitely are Second Chance FC. And Romelu Lukaku, he's just going to be sort of, he's not actually great in the air because of his physical profile. You kind of assume that he is, but he's really not. But it's going to kind of be, targeting him in hold up and kind of giving him the ball, letting him spin guys and get shots off. Receives a ton of progressive passes as well. So if we have him and Iñaki Williams in transition receiving those progressive passes, I think it's going to be really, really dangerous. And somehow, some way, he's actually 92nd percentile for forwards in assists. Lukaku is so.
No, he's his not creation, I would say, but like his link up ability, especially this season, I think has actually been really good because he's not only linked up with the wingers, but he's also linked up with like McTominay, who's like been running beyond him in like certain situations, which I think is just hilarious.
He's got 10 assists in the league, which is insanity. So he's 12-10 this year for that Napoli side. So I'm really, really excited to, add him to, I like that name for our team, Second Chance FC. I like that he's able to, sort of come in. He's won the league. He's going to win the league now with Napoli, and he's going to be like, what I really am missing in my career is a relegation scrap in England. He did go down with West Brom when he was like 17, but he's like, what, I kind of miss those days. So I'm going to go back and join Second Chance FC.
Hey man, I'm not mad at it. You definitely stayed well under the budget. Is the funny part.
Do you think you're going to be close?
Let me think. No, not really. Not particularly. I mean,
I was about to say, because part of me kind of just wants to be like, hey, we each get like a wild card pick.
Yeah, I'll be so transparent with you. I did my numbers, and then like I saw that I had a good maybe like 25 million left over or something like that. And then I was like, I mean, could I just swap out one of my attackers for like the name I kept thinking was a Karim Adeyemi, who's like a 40 million guy. But I'd rather stick with the team that I have, a little bit more, because I think for the most part, I got to admit the Lukaku I think would be crazy. But other than that, I think every signing we've had has been like realistic. I mean, maybe you could argue Iñaki Williams isn't going to leave Bilbao, but like I think he would for like a decent pay packet, which a promoted team is going to offer him. So I think
right, and even like the Paul Pogba one kind of had like logic behind it in the way that it's like, well, he kind of needs a way back and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. When you reference the Eriksen, kind of like his return to relevance, essentially, like that's exactly what the Pogba one is. So I completely see that. But yeah. I'll just stick with my normal front three that I had while I was still kind of under the regular parameters. And I'll just give all three of my guys going from left to right. I've got Igor Paixão, 24-year-old from Feyenoord for 25 million. I think some of the stuff he was able to do in like individual, like isolated one-on-one in the Champions League, which was kind of like part of what helped make Feyenoord go to they made it to the round of 16, I believe, right? Putting you on the spot a bit, but yeah, whatever round they made it to. Yeah, they played you guys, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I couldn't remember if you guys killed them or if it was PSV. I knew it was a Dutch team, but I couldn't remember. But I liked a lot of what Paixão did, and like someone would just kick the living shit out of it. He'd go run after it, and then I remember him cutting in on someone and then like scoring a couple. Oh, it was in the Juve tie. In the Juve tie, he almost like single-handedly won that one. So a little bit of Doc Rivers.
No, it was PSV that we played. They played against Inter.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is then. Because they ended up knocking. No, PSV ended up knocking out Juve. Okay, sorry, those two teams like
all those Dutch teams to me are all just one.
Well, the Feyenoord PSV one is especially tough because they like have the exact same colors.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, even Ajax have the same colors as them, to be honest. If you're just saying like the red and white. But yeah, Paixão for 25 million. When I look at the attack, I wanted to mold it in like and this is going to be hilarious because they went from relegation scrap to fighting for the Champions League, but almost in like a Forest type of way, where I just want guys who like what you said, they're going to work their socks off, but then they're also going to be really good transition threats and like counter-attacking threats. So Paixão can bring both the pace and the individual quality. My other winger, my right winger, is going to be a guy who I've been like this is an 11 of like guys I've been touting, and now I just finally have an area to like express it.
This is your way to
And that
kind of
would
get
be
their names
Kerim
back out there.
Akpoglu, from Benfica, who I just think is like really, really freaking good. I mean, I don't, has the ability to beat a man both down the line and inside. Started off the year at Benfica this year playing on the left and like kind of playing as like a creator slash guy who was really cutting inside and making plays for Benfica. And now he's kind of adjusted ever since Andreas Sheldrip has kind of come into the side. Akpoglu has kind of moved into like this right winger who's like kind of like how you were talking about Iñaki Williams, more of a finishing the end of a play or like getting down to the byline and like can kind of just drag one across or something like that. But like has always had the work rate, 92nd percentile in interceptions, 76th percentile in aerial duels won. Like really, so those numbers like make a lot of sense for the type of team I'm putting together. And then just a dude who gets off shots, like he's getting off 3 shots per 90 as a winger. So I really like him a lot. Then my number 9, who I've got for 20 million, is going to be Rodrigo Muniz from Fulham. This is a guy who, like, it's funny
I'm not a fan.
No, I know, but look, if I can get a guy who actually has some Premier League goal scoring experience, because he's actually put up like 2 seasons in a row where he's been like
he has 8
9
in the league right now, which is
and
shocking.
Or I mean, shoot, he's 8 goals in 800 league minutes or 900 league minutes this season.
Yeah,
and last year he was 9 goals in 1600 minutes, and I get it. Consistently as a finisher, he's definitely not there, so I wouldn't even come close to arguing that with you. But I just think, like, I don't know, 24 years old, he can kind of start to hit his peak finishing-wise. Maybe not athletically he won't hit his peak, but finishing-wise, I think he can start to hit his peak. And if he can bag 10 to 12 for us, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
And it'd be in 3 times the amount of minutes as he's got this year, so
yeah.
I would think he could at least do something.
I kind of wish I got a little bit more expansive with my, again, my budget. I still had 38 million left over. Even if I would have... even I think this would somehow make it.
Let's do this.
Well, go on.
Let's do this. Give me one guy that you would be like, all right, if I was, I mean, I know this is putting you on the spot a bit, but like still staying within reason. Like, who's a guy who you automatically are like, all right, I would want to upgrade this position. Not even like with a specific guy, but like a guy who you would or a position you would want to upgrade.
I mean, I would love to upgrade, really, probably that left winger spot from Robin Hack. I mean, I still dig the logic of like that he's a hard worker, kind of able to create something with not a lot. I really like that logic. But even if you were to give me a guy like, I think this guy's been playing more on the right, but even like a Willy Nanto, who I've been a huge fan of ever since I watched him with Leeds years ago in the Prem.
The last time they were in the Prem.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I think that his creation, and he's not as active defensively as a guy like a Robin Hack, but I think if he were able to play with Iñaki Williams, who works really, really hard, and then we already have Norgard and Jensen in there breaking up a ton of stuff.
Absolutely.
I think that we have room in our team for Willy Nanto, which is exclusively what I call him. So a guy that is actually able to get a lot of touches in the attacking penalty area, receive a lot of progressive passes, and just like literally quick as shit. And again, he's going to be more of our creator guy rather than our true goal scorer, even though he has goals in his game. So I kind of like him as sort of our wild card attacker. That's just kind of when in doubt in transition, we can just kind of give him the ball and just see if he's going to make something happen. Kind of be that X factor when we're playing against those other relegation level teams, and he might be the X factor in us, winning or getting 3 points rather than 1 or 1 point rather than 0.
Yeah, no, that I like that. I've been a fan of Nanto as well for, like you said, kind of going back to when he first kind of broke through at Leeds. And then it was like all of a sudden this dude's like supposed to be the savior for the Italian national team, and it was like, dude, he's like 20.
Dude, he debuted, and I swear he was 17. He might have been 18, but I remember he like played in a game, and I was like looking at the lineup. I was like, "Who the hell is Wilfried Janocta?" I was like, "Who in the hell
Yeah.
is this
I
dude?"
mean, even now, like he's still only 21.
Yeah,
Like the fact that he's only 21 is kind of crazy. So would you want to put? Do you want me to put kind of swap that Robin Hack for
screw it. Let's
Wilfred
put
Nanto?
Willie Nanto in. I need some.
Hell yeah.
I'm getting my Greek kid on.
Do you have his market value off the top or anything?
I
I can
just
look
had
for
it
real
up. I think
quick.
it was 20. I want to say it was 18.
Oh yeah, so you're living on the edge, really.
Well, if I could really have both of them, then another guy I was looking at was Jorgen Strand Larson, just because I like his mobility and his ability to be in hold up play, and he's actually scored a shit ton of goals. I didn't know he had 13 for Wolves this year.
Yeah, dude, he scored in like 5 straight games for them.
Wait, which 5 games was that? I think something happened, and then he scored in like 5 straight games.
Hey man,
What happened?
You're not allowed to bring that up.
I think they also won
You're not
those
a-
5 games too, which was weird because they were in like a really big relegation scrap, and then it was like their best player and like a guy that needs a United move got
Yep.
suspended actually
Yep.
for being an idiot, and then they started winning all of a
Were
sudden.
much better.
It was weird.
Yeah, yeah. We don't talk about that. Sorry, Floyd. But yeah. Okay, so I've got Nyanto in there for you for Robin Hack. Do you want to say screw it and put? I'm assuming it'd be Strand Larson over Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah, Strand Larson, he's an extra 5, so
Okay.
I think I'm only
Fair.
spending an extra like 13 million or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. You're still only at 175, so I like that. I like that. You've got a nice little team there.
What about you? Were there any guys that you kind of saw or heard or sort of, had on the back burner that now you can afford to put in your team?
Sneakily, I'm already at 187 million. So I've spent. I've actually spent a decent bit. My midfield, I spent 70 million on my midfield, dude. So like, that was I was putting a lot of my eggs into that basket. So
Well, when you have a free midfielder like I did, then that kind of
yeah,
helps
fair,
out for
fair.
a little bit.
But that's what I was kind of saying about the difference between you and I. Like, you spent between the keeper and the defense, you spent 82 million there. I only spent 50 in that area, and then I spent 70. I spent 137 between the midfield and the attack, and you spent like, what'd that be? Less than that.
Well, if I spent,
No, you
if I,
spent-
yeah,
You spent
about
83. You
8,
spent
about the
83
same as
between
just the
those.
defense, basically.
Yeah. Just a contrasting styles. Be honest with you. Like, okay, and then we'll do this last one. We'll do this last thing, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. If you could take one person from my team, and then I could take one person from yours, who would you take from mine?
All right, read your lineup out.
All right. I got Finn Dowman, keeper, 6 million. Kenny Tete, right back, free. Carter Vickers, center back, 14 million. Morato, center back, 15 million. Doyle, left back, 15 million. Florentino Luis, DM, 22 million. Cardosa, center mid, 20 million. Veerman, center mid, 28 million. Paixão, left wing, 25 million. Muniz, striker, 20 million. And Aktakolu, right winger, 22 million.
Feel like I'd probably take Florentino Luis of all those guys.
Okay.
Have a little bit more progression while also having a really good ball winner. Chris Norgard really just a ball winner and a runner.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd have to say him. What about
Okay.
my team? You want Paul
I would
Pogba
take-
or
I'm telling you, I think Teze was an amazing choice. Like, I really like Teze, especially for like the specific type of teams that we're trying to build. I think Teze is would be a really good choice. So,
yeah?
yep, yeah.
I was proud of my team. I really was. I mean, doing all this and still having some money to play with, I guess, in January.
Absolutely.
Still having,
Yeah, I was gonna say you can make an emergency signing if your team's in 20th.
yeah, if my team wins one game out of 13, like going into January, I can spend like 200 million and then still play underdog when it comes to the league.
Oh, is there a team that did that?
I don't know.
Manchester-based team, maybe.
I don't really remember exactly where they were, but I think it was around that area.
Okay, fair enough.
I like
Fair
it.
enough.
I do
We'll
like
leave
it when teams are able to play underdog. I think
after spending a shit ton
I
of
just
money.
think like the sport just somehow everyone finds a way to sort of play underdog in some sort of way. Hell, even you guys, the biggest club in the world, have found a way to play underdog this year. It's like, oh man, even the refs are against us. And Barca's like, oh man, we only have academy players. We can't even spend money. Everyone sort of finds their own way to play victim in the game. Even Bayern is like, oh well, Bundesliga, we don't make as much revenue as everybody else.
We've only got 2 center backs. Well, that's the thing that I'm convinced teams are doing now is they're just making their team shitty to be like, hey man, if we lose the league, don't blame us.
Exactly. So, yeah, man, I'm really excited about my team. I think we're going to stay up next year. I really think that Skriniar signing is going to be what unlocks our team.
I'm telling you, your center back pairing is like if they were somehow from Manchester instead of Eastern Europe, like Moyes would be banging on your door asking if he could manage the team. He'd just be posted up outside the training ground for 6 months.
Exactly.
And like, can I please just coach this side?
We really hope that you guys enjoyed this little exercise. It was something fun that, we kind of, because at the beginning of the season, I kind of had a little diatribe on it, on how to stay up, like what kind of things you need to focus on. And now that we've seen that, the teams didn't listen to my advice for some reason, and all 3 of them are going back down. This is now kind of a love letter to like the Leeds,
Burnley,
Burnley, and whoever else, Sunderland combo that are going to come up.
Most likely Sheffield, I would think.
If it's Sheffield, that'd be literally hilarious. I think it's Sheffield, Coventry, Sunderland, and someone else. But seeing these teams constantly come up and then put up literally no fight and then go back down. I mean, Luton did a decent job last year of taking. I think they officially got relegated on the final day, but I think like mathematically,
it was like pretty known.
Yeah, it was pretty known. I think it was like match day 36. It was like, okay, yeah, they're pretty much down.
Yeah.
So they at least put up that long of a fight. I mean, shit, in like January, we knew that all 3 of these teams were already down. I mean, Southampton, we were having conversations of were they going to be the worst team in the history of the league. So, I mean, I think that kind of shows it right there.
Yeah.
But again, hope you guys really enjoyed it. Trying to come up with some more creative stuff near the end of the season, not just trying to be like, oh, let's react to every Champions League game and let's talk about who won each league and things like that. So if you have any ideas, please put them in the comments down below. Also like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff so you can keep up to date. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week for episode 34. See you guys later.